So, hello everyone. I can see a lot of participants here, and it's great to see so many familiar names, juniors, classmates, and seniors as well. So, as you guys might be knowing, we have a very well functioning alumni cell in our college, but we work in silence. So, this year, the SARC team, of which I'm the vice captain, and by the way, I'm Archie Ajita, and I would like to welcome you all to our first webinar that is for CAT preparation. See, we are going to have a lot of series of webinars throughout the upcoming months. So the key is to know your alumni who will guide you and help you in choosing the right career path. Because I know I'm in third year right now, you all are in third year or second year or maybe fourth year. Fourth years might have already chosen a career path, but speaking entirely about myself and my fellow mates, we all are very confused as to what to choose. So this is the best opportunity to for all of us to figure out what to do and how to do. For that, we have got a very good experience waiting for you so far. Anyway, since we are part of the SARC team, we are interning with VAV, and with us we have Gaganjit sir, who is our mentor and our guide, and he's entirely moderating today's webinar. So I would like Gagan sir to take over, and I hope you all enjoy this webinar and get to take a lot from it.
Hey Archie, thank you so much, and thank you so much for a wonderful start, and thank you for introducing your team as well. I'm Gaganjeet Singh from VAV, and I'm moderator for today's session. I welcome you all to a webinar conducted by SARC team of CET Bhubaneswar and the Alumni Network in association with VAV. Without further ado, I request Samarth. He's also part of SARC team. He's one of the student alumni coordinator, and he'll introduce our eminent alumnus of CET Bhubaneswar, Mr. Soumya Ranjan Prasad. Samarth, the platform is all yours.
Thank you, Gagan sir, for giving me this opportunity. Hello, everyone. This evening, it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Soumyaranjan Pradhan, who is presently working as worldwide ISB manager at MongoDB, Gurgaon, Haryana. He had completed his bachelor in technology from College of Engineering and Technology, Bhubaneswar, from the Department of Electrical Engineering in the year 2013. Soon after the completion, he cracked common aptitude test and made his way into Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, and graduated in the year 2015. During his BTech, he had done internship in Odisha Power Transmission Corporation Limited and was also a marketing intern in Home Connect Retail Private Limited during his management course. Sir, it is our honor to have you on board with us. We are sincerely looking forward to learn from you and your experiences. So, may sir, please.
Uh, Hey, thanks so much. Thanks, Gagan, for this platform. I think it's great to be virtually back with my fellow CETians. Hope we will meet soon together in college. But yeah, current times, it's really a great platform to connect with you all, and hopefully you guys are staying safe and staying sound with your family. I know it's a tough time. We are spending more time in front of our computers, which ideally shouldn't be the case. But yeah, that's how life has been for past few months. So hopefully all of you are doing well, and hopefully you will get something out of this today session. And I thank you all for joining in as well. Gagan, I will start off with the flow. I think we have roughly 55 minutes left. So we would have, of course, I would encourage everyone to ask any questions in the chat box, or if I'm asking something, you can actually respond on the chat box as well. So let's start. So I noticed the theme on which we are going to talk today. It's to do with CAT, MBA, etc. Right? So let's say before begin, let me ask you all a question. Why do you think do you want to do an MBA? Right? I know people are confused, as Archie mentioned, and people are trying to make a decision. But let's say you are at a stage where you decide, okay, I want to do an MBA. The first question you will be asked, let's say in an IIM interview or in a job interview going forward, will be why MBA? And just put in a few lines. I'll give you a minute or so, then I will actually help you with my version that I have learned through this year. Okay, so I think with respect to time, let's move forward. And I could see there are some response that points towards money. Uh, and yes, MBA courses are expensive, but you also get a better reward after your MBA courses. But let's say you are asked this question in a panel, in an interview with, let's say an IIM, or let's say with a company like Amazon or something. Everyone has an inbuilt motivation that money is our driver, but of course you can't answer that, right? So if it is money, then there are of course tens of other ways that you can earn that amount of money and have that amount of growth in your career. Like you can code in areas like AI/ML, security or something like that. You can be a data scientist, you can be a product manager, or hell, you can be a PhD in electrical and you can earn money. So that's not something that's driving, right? There are non-MBAs who are smart enough to earn money. So let's say you are interested to run a business, learn about how to run a business, be it yours or someone else's company. Let's say you want to build a product, and by building a product, I don't mean to just write code. You have to launch it, make it successful, get a lot of funding for that, so you can do marketing. Like example, uh, Byju's, right? It's a great example of a business being built and run successful in India. Flipkart. So what is essentially MBA does is it's a study of common sense, right? It's MBA will reinforce the common sense that you have on a lot of topics, uh, with a bit of science and art. So like when I mean science, you will learn financial modeling, you will learn marketing science. And when I talk about art, you will learn about, let's say, sales methodologies. You will learn how consumers behave in the market so that you can take your decisions accordingly. So MBA, in a sense, makes you whole, have a well-rounded perspective on any case. Most important is to have an opinion on any case with a logic, how you think through to reach a conclusion. And precisely this is what people look forward to in a business graduate. That's what differentiates a non-MBA to an MBA, if you ask me. Apart from that, you can, of course, you will develop your character, you will develop your thought process, and especially IIMs help you with to excel in terms of pressure under performance under a huge amount of pressure. That's something you definitely take out of MBA. So this is my short version, and of course, I didn't have this answer when I was preparing for MBA. Uh, this is my experience of past 5 years post MBA that I have been working, and I've been seeing a good amount of growth in my career, thankfully. So this is my experience, like why you do an MBA and where do you want to reach after an MBA. Let me talk a bit about okay, getting an MBA. It's easy and difficult at the same point of time, I would say. I won't spend a lot of time telling you what to study, what not to study, because yeah, there are exceptional institutions, Carrot Launcher, Time, etc. You name it, all are same. All are same capable. Maybe different topics are a bit different with different institutions, but yeah, it's you get the information from everywhere. You can get it online, you can get it in the classes, but the difference is how you actually use that information. I will spend some time on how I was preparing during my engineering, right? Yeah, so let's talk about engineering. Yeah, it was a good fun 4 years, electrical engineering, CET, lot of good memories. So, and it takes a lot of time investment. Time management is key. So you have labs, you have courses, you have your crickets, you have your friends, you have your parties, your hangovers following that. So yeah, there's a lot of time that goes into it, right? And you can't afford to lose any of that, because these 4 years actually help you develop a lot of character. And hell, you're learning something like rocket science, and MBA is not rocket science. So it's essential to give time to your engineering. I understand that. And being at a college like CET, of course you can't just go straight like, okay, I want CAT, I will not prepare for anything else. You can't do that. So you have to balance it out between, let's say you have your jobs, you have internships at fourth year, third year, you have a GATE, which is a wonderful platform to be in. You can get into PSUs after that, and you also have CAT. So being a successful engineer, I think, is basically learning to juggle between these responsibilities. GATE is technical, it's rocket science, so it will need its own set of time. And I personally was preparing both for GATE as well as CAT. And GATE used to take a lot of time. CAT, on the other hand, doesn't. And when I mean, I understand, you might be thinking I got into CAT, then I'm speaking, but it's not. CAT is CAT and GMAT exams. They don't really need a lot of time investment compared to preparing for a GATE or for your entrance exams, something like that. So how I see CAT, and what I have actually discussed with my professors back at IIMs, like, what do you see? How do you design an exam? So especially for CAT and GMAT, this will be true. May not be for the other exams like XAT or something. It's it's a test of your basics, how clearly you understand the basics, the syllabus, the questions, the exam pattern. Everything is designed to pick the smartest, the fastest, and the cleanest among all the students that are applying for an IIM. So and these three terms, smartest, fastest, cleanest, these actually came from one of my professors who were on one of the panels in 2014 or 2015 paper making. He said we don't need anyone who knows a lot, right? We need someone who is smart, who can actually think on their feet and can make less error, because everyone makes error. How quickly you can identify that and you overcome that. And from a post MBA experience in my job of 5 years, I see that those are the qualities that separate a successful one from a normal one in terms of a job and growth. So in engineering, I think third year onwards, I started preparing, and initially it used to be just a few hours a week, because the courses that we prepare for, quant, LRDI, verbal, 3 papers. Quant, of course, it's easy for you, but it's basic mathematics and laws about it. For an engineer of CET caliber, it's definitely easy, and I wholeheartedly believe that sentence. LRDI, it's logical reasoning and data interpretation. There is no science behind it. It's all about using your brains. Of course, you need to get exposed to such questions through practice, because there are of course several types of questions that you encounter in LRDI. So you just need to be aware about that. And verbal, I would say it's easy. It's basic grammar, and of course a lot of variations on that. You need to spend a bit more time on verbal compared to the other two, I believe, at least for engineers. And if you're from a state board background like me, you might also need to invest a bit more, and even more for GMAT. And on the chat, I can see a question about GMAT and how you can prepare about it. Of course, the process is a bit easier to apply to GMAT, the application for the exam. It's a bit expensive, but yeah, it's much easier because you can actually choose your slots throughout the year, and you can prepare for that. There, I would say the quant is even a bit easier. LRDI will almost be the same, and verbal would be even more difficult because obviously it's an international standard exam. Uh, and coming back to points of engineers like we are very strong in quant, LRDI, and that's one of the prime reasons that 70% plus candidates that come to IIMs are of engineering background. And I feel, it's my opinion, that's the reason they introduce points for other streams. Like, you're coming from an economics background or something else, then of course you don't have the same amount of quantitative aptitude that's needed, right? So uh, so I would say these preparations is nothing generic. It's specific to you. Like, this was my plan. Like, I used to study 1 hour a week in third year, then gradually uh, when things came towards the end, you need to prepare more, give it a bit more time. But yeah, it's the test of your basics. There is nothing more, nothing less. And it's it's important to also manage the time that you give to engineering, because of course that CGP also matters a lot. Uh, First to get into IIMs, second to get a job out there. So you can't really mess that up. You have to balance your time accordingly, and it's you have to tweak it according to your situation. No career launcher, no time can help you do that. It's basically you. Uh, and I think one more pointer that I have to give it to you right away. It's especially true for CAT. It's about quality versus quantity. Like uh, while answering in your exam, accuracy matters a lot. Like I know people who have answered like let's say out of 100 only 70 questions and got like 68 69 correct, versus someone answered 100 questions and got 85 correct, and the first guy getting more percentile in that paper. CAT accuracy matters a lot. So you attempt a question, you do it quick, get it right. Otherwise, you just move on to the next. You don't get stuck in a question. That's how you lose time. This statement you will hear a lot from any institutions, because time is of the essence. So of course, these are like how you prep for CAT. Um, but other info that I will give you is even more important than prepping for CAT, because I have seen people with 99.7 percentile. Like when I was in IIM, I used to get pings from people who have cracked CAT 99.7, but still not, and getting shortlisted, but still not getting qualified to get into an IIM. Right. And I have seen students with 97 percentile get into an IIM. So the point that I'm trying to make, of course, CAT is important. That's the first step, but it's not all. It's not the end of the line. You really have to prepare for what's ahead. Like you need to prepare a lot outside the syllabus, and I mean that with all my best interest, right? It's to help you with GDPI. It's basically to help you clear that round so that you will be eligible to have your CAT score be even considered. So GDPI is an important step, and of course, it's both pre and post MBA. Like during MBA to get a job, I will tell you my stories, like how we used to sit through the night to get a job, and GDP and PI. It's a very important step, and you have to have points, solid points. You have to have logic and thought process, because you will be cross questioned, and you cannot throw around points. You cannot have garbage. Don't shout for it. Have just clear ideas. You will struggle to get your chance, but eventually it will come to you. It's not a big deal. And when I say like the other things outside the syllabus, I really mean to read a lot. Uh, of course, you will read a lot of news, you read a lot of economic stories. That's common, right? You read Times of India, Hindustan Times for general news that's happening in the country, and maybe Economic Times to read the editorials and some finance news. But that's not all. Trust me, I will tell you my experience of going to PIs and how they were very different. Uh, so I got a call from every IIM except Bangalore. Uh, I will concentrate on points that I was asked on those interviews. Like Ahmedabad, uh, I had like 30. I think it was a 45 minutes interview after the GD. In that, I was given 10 minutes to prepare a PPT, prepare a presentation on education system in India. Where do you see yourself making it better? How you will involve yourself in policy? Heck, I didn't know nothing about that. Uh, I know about how education system works, and it was just 10 minutes, so I had to prepare a maximum one slide, uh, focusing on education in India. What we will do the betterment of that. I somehow managed, but I didn't excel that, because I didn't know that we have to prepare these things as well, and there were a lot of guesstimates which I was good at, so I answered them correctly. Learning from my next interview was, I think Kozhikode. Kozhikode was my second interview. There of course it was writing ability followed by PI, where I was asked questions about reservations, affirmative actions. What are your views on privilege versus right? Do you think yeah, there was a specific statement like education needs to empower or strengthen, like empower a mass or strengthen a few. So very very abstract and like questions that you need to you should have read about earlier to even answer. So and that of course went well. I went into IMK. uh, because I had read about affirmative action, how things were happening in past, how Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel actually so all those kind of questions I was prepared about, so I could answer that. Then come Calcutta, where I was asked about what are your viewpoints on Vodafone scam, the tax scam, and the coal block scam that happened at that time, and what are your solutions for that? And I knew about the scam, but I didn't know about the solution. But still, I I articulated like what the solution would be, and that was more to do with guesstimates. They gave me a random number. Let's say the amount is 10 lakh crores. How do you actually get that money back to government? So on top of my feet, I actually thought of those answers and I had to give that. So you see the variation of PI questions that they ask. In Indore, I was asked about electrical engineering physics. How many, I vividly remember how many batteries you need to light up Kolkata, because all my interviews were in Kolkata. It was the nearest location. Let's say you dig a tunnel through the center of Earth, how many oscillations it will happen? I currently don't remember the answers, but yeah, at that point I used to be. Uh, then came Lucknow agribusiness. That was the only shortlist I had. Uh, that was very interesting. It was a GD about why MBA. It was a PI about why MBA. Uh, and I gave some answers, not the well-versed answer that I have right now, but yeah, I gave some answers. They cross questions. I know you want money out of MBA. Do you really think I'm gonna let you into Lucknow just to get money? So those kind of stress interviews also you will get in. And also I applied to two IITs, IIT Bombay and Delhi. IIT Bombay, S. James Shom. That interview was to do with entrepreneurship. How do you? I had a keen interest on solar energy. I did a couple of projects in CET, so I got asked a lot about solar microgrids during my Bombay interview, and I did my work there, so it went well. uh, IIT Delhi, the question was about derivatives. When he asked, "What do you think about derivatives?" I said, "Yeah, it's derivative, integral, all that." Then he said, "You are applying for an MBA interview. I'm asking you about financial derivatives." Thankfully, I knew something, but yeah, it was not a good first impression. So what the point that I'm trying to make, you have to read a lot apart from your uh, traditional syllabus. Let's say you crack CAT, you still have 3-4 months time to read through some subjects, but I would suggest make it a habit of reading regularly. um, some sources, like you shouldn't limit yourself to TOI, HTET, right? You go on and read random articles. Now you have like digital apps with you and with me. I didn't have that much information in 2013. So read through medium.com, read through Wired, read through Huffington Post. Um, if you can get a subscription of Economist, these really help you have that understanding of what's happening out there. Random news tabs, informations you get, these actually give you a perspective. And MBA is very important to have. It's very important to have a perspective and a thought process. Like, how do you actually uh, let's say your idea is not so good, but how are you actually coming to the idea? What are your assumptions? um, what is the thought process? Like, what policy will change something in the country so that some person can get into our country? So different things, different point of views that you may need to actually have answers for. And increasingly, that what I have seen in these 5 years, like many countries are trying to get into India to do business, and many Indian startups or SaaS companies, as we call them today, are trying to go outward to have a more affluent customer base who can pay more to get their services. So it's more about international business. So just having knowledge about India I think is not enough at this point of time. We need to know a bit more of what's happening in the world. Um, there is one question, if you can answer it in the chat. uh, but what is the startup capital of the world right now? It's by the way, it's no more Bangalore or Silicon Valley. Which two countries have the highest number of startups in the world? And these questions are getting asked in the interviews. So you need to be active on the news, like what's happening, all those sort of things, right? And the point that I made about Calcutta interview, Vodafone and coal block scam, my answers were actually pretty good. And I'm still with the professor that actually took the interview, because you build those relationships with people where you give a good answer. Let's say I didn't get into Calcutta, but I had a good relationship with the professor. I now sometimes make point of views on his papers that he's going to publish. So make a lot of relationships going through this. So in short, like, you have to have like time management. You cannot discount on your regular courses that we are doing, and at the same times we have to prepare for MBA. And you have to ask yourself, like, what do you want to be, so that you want to get an MBA from an IIM or a similar institute like that. And once you are okay, I have to go in this path, you need to take actions that actually justify the result that you want to achieve, right? So yep. And and of course, the other point that I mentioned about going beyond syllabus, that's really important. And I will cover my story of like how MBA and post MBA, and you will see how they are really relevant. And my question, you can answer like which two countries have the highest number of startups across the world currently, and may not be highest, but yeah, they are the startup hotspots in the world. And I can answer the question at the end of the webinar, I guess. Okay, not India, not US, not China. We just have the large numbers, but not the most interesting startups. Gagan, so should I go on, or should we take any
Yes.
questions over here?
Right. So, what I'll do is I'll start
Yeah,
with some questions which we received during the registrations.
sure.
There's this very common question because in engineering we have like second year and third year students as well,
Mhm.
and there'll be many people those who will be looking to this answer. Like as you said, like keep reading newspapers, or you can have this subscription to economists. Start reading Wired, or even if you're using your social media, it is better to follow their pages because you'll be
Yep.
getting a lot of updates, right?
Yep.
Like, what do you think in this? Because engineering is very hectic course. You have a lot of
Yeah.
projects to do. You have a lot of
Yep.
subjects. You have CAs and midterms. So, how one should manage their time, like their time to? What do you think? Like, what do you suggest? Like per week, how much time they should actually invest if they really want to crack CAT or get into IIMs?
So I think during engineering, our first objective is to crack CAT. We can see everything about that follows later. Uh, and and as I said, it depends on you, like how you can grasp information, how clear you are about your basics. Specifically talking about CAT, it's about basics, how good your basics are and how quickly you can think about them. So I used to spend like I start preparing for CAT in third year. Heck, I didn't know much about CAT during second year. We didn't have the um, best exposures that you guys have right now. But yeah, I started in third year. I used to spend a week max. From my third year onwards, I was in Career Launcher. I was taking courses there, so regular classes, of course, there. But uh, maximum of my time used to go in preparing for engineering, because CGPAs do matter. Let me repeat that. To get a job, to get into NIME, so they do matter. And you compete with the likes of IITs, NIT students to get into an IIM. So yeah, I think you start small and grow big. Invest an hour, 3 hour, and now it's lockdown, so you can actually invest more and make yourself up to the point, um, till the point your college is open and actually workload increases. And in fourth year, yeah, of course, it's the exam is in October to December phase. So you try to dedicate a bit more time on that. And sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. One thing that we should all diligently do is practice, because as I said, CAT is very basic. Preparation level would be, I would say, maximum to medium, not a high preparation exam, but you need to practice a lot, because the questions are easy, uh, but you need to know what kind of questions you are going to get. So take any practice session. It doesn't matter. Let's say you are not enrolled with any of the institutions, but you can just take their exam series. So that helps a lot, and especially in LRDI, where you get very brainy questions, but you need to know what kind of questions they are. So it really helps.
Right. Okay. Thanks. So, like this next question, again, like from two, three students, we received this question.
Mhm.
They were asking, like, is it better to pursue MBA right after your bachelor's, or is it better to take some experience and then go ahead with the MBA?
Yeah. Uh, that's one question I think we all can see in the forums inside IIM Pagal guy. Yeah, I totally understand that point. I went in as a fresh candidate, but in an IIM. So let's talk about generic MBA first. Like in CAT colleges like the IIM ABC such. Um, A, C, K, and I are perceived as a fresher friendly campus compared to Bangalore, or let's say ISB Hyderabad or XLRI. So uh, for a fact that ISB prefers a lot experienced candidates, and there are reasons behind everything, right? If you ask anyone from Koikot, they will say that okay, we prefer, but it really matters like how do they want to split their batch size. And and I would say how work experience matters, because work experience in MBA adds a lot of point of view. Like every MBA classroom is designed to have various candidates from various background. Like I had colleagues who, one of them was a professional photographer, one of them was from Air Force. He took an early retirement to get into the private sector. Then one guy was an CA. Sorry, many guys were CAs. Then there were some sports champions. So you get a lot of. I know you might be thinking, what are they doing in an MBA classroom? But you really get a lot of interesting perspective. Uh, because let's say you are running a business post your MBA, and you are running some promotion for your customers, for your company, right? The customers can be anything. You need to know their perspective, what they are thinking too. So MBA basically enables you to do that in a classroom. That's why they
Yeah.
prefer to have a mix of all students. Like freshers go in with a unbiased, very logical thinking to a classroom, compared to work experience who take a lot of their organizational skills, like how financials actually work in a company, how ERP actually gets implemented compared to how SAP works, how analytics is actually used in a business. So you get that perspective in a classroom, and most campuses are run on a case analysis model. Like you discuss a lot of case studies in your courses. Like I think uh, in every subject in IIM Kozhikode, we used to have 3-month terms. We used to have around, I think the minimum I can remember is 19 cases per subject. So there is a lot of case discussion, and it won't be a discussion if there are not people from various backgrounds. That's why people prefer to have, especially Indian B schools, prefer to have some fresher and some work ex. So there is no right or wrong time to enter into an MBA college. But yeah, if you are going through GMAT, they prefer some experience, because Western thought, like US business schools, they think that WorkX gets more value into a classroom than, uh, but it's a point of view. So I think you all can be very relaxed about that fact. I'm going into an MBA at any point of time, and I would say don't waste your chances. Like give CAT exam, give that exam. You never know. Like someday might be your day, and you might well get to shine that day. So I would say give exams. Let's say you didn't qualify this year, don't get disheartened, prepare more, apply for next year, do that.
Right. So actually, there are one set of students
Mhm.
now. Why they look at MBA is there's some, there's this thought in many of students, like if you have MBA in addition to your bachelor's, then you'll get more, you'll be growing faster than others. And so what is your thought on this? Like, is MBA really required if you really want to grow in the industry,
Yeah.
right? Or is it like the one who really wants to do the management or really wants to do MBA, only he or she should prefer MBA over like others?
Yeah. And I think I answered this question in bits during my why MBA phase, but yeah, I really think like you want to grow, you want to earn money. MBA is not the only way, and it might not be the right way for everyone. Uh, you want to earn money, and being in IT industry, I'm and leading a lot of developers out here. I can rightly tell you, if you want to earn money, go for AI ML, go for cybersecurity. It's hot right now. Go for blockchain, develop in such areas. You will earn money. You will grow faster than anyone. Go into data science. So, uh, being doing an MBA is not really about developing, right? It's about how do you want your business to grow. Do you really want, let's say, you get into sales, right? It's what I currently do. Uh, do you really see that you can value sell and add a add value in terms of financial value to one of your customers or for your company? Do that. If you're passionate to sell, you can do an MBA. If you're passionate to do a financial analysis to predict how the stock market is gonna affect the economy, do an MBA. If you really want to manage an organization, do an MBA. Especially in Indian B schools like the IIMs,
So, Sumat, are you there? I think we lost him.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I think we lost Soumya, so it could be a network,
Uh,
bad network, right?
shall I call him, sir?
Yeah, I think he'll join back and we'll start again.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Right. So I can see a lot of questions in Q&A. We'll be picking all those questions live, and we'll be asking Soumya to answer them.
Sir, actually, I guess Soumya sir can answer the questions at the last.
Yeah, yeah, he's back. He's back.
Yeah, sir.
Right.
sorry, I dropped, I guess, in between.
Yes,
Uh,
no problem.
no, no, yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah, it's uh, if you want to just money and growth, I think there are various paths that you can take. You can go and do your coding and actually grow in life, or you can actually do a PhD in electricals and grow in life. But yeah, if you really want to manage a business, I think that's where you need to evaluate yourself. Like, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to be a consultant? I love consulting. I love my clients. I love selling to my clients and actually increase values of my customers. So that's my motivation for doing an MBA. And if you ask me, like in 2013, was there a motivation? There were some, but it wasn't this short. So I learned over the years, and that's why I'm telling to people like, okay, this is what I have learned. See if you want to do similar things, you can grow. And I think growth is a I think it's not a straight topic, right? You really need to see what growth is in your terms. And of course, by doing an MBA, you will grow in life. That's given. Don't get me wrong on that.
Right. So we have a lot of questions in Q&A. Most of
Sure.
them,
I think
we have
I could
answered, right?
see some questions like MBA, should civil engineer go apart
Yes.
from
So I was
HR?
like exactly.
Yeah.
No. So which branch of MBA should a civil engineer go with apart from HR?
There is nothing like that, and don't even bother about thinking like what specialization I need to select, because any MBA college that you get into first year is general. from second year onwards, you choose your subjects to actually know that which stream you go into, and your engineering background, or let's say economics background, doesn't dictate which line you should go for. You're civil engineer, you can go into sales, in HR, in finance, doesn't matter. Which coaching did I join? I joined Career Launcher, but yeah, it's all the same. I would say go with anyone that's very easy for you to get into, like nearer to your college or something like that. Can you repeat those sources of information? I'm not sure which sources. Can you please
So,
specify?
okay, these sources, I think he's talking about Economist, Wired, and like from
Okay.
where they can actually gather this information, right?
Sure. I think, look, guys, I think you can get those search fields by actually going into relevant websites once. So Google gives you advertisement of similar websites. It's not big deal. So start going into, let's say, Huffington Post for general ideas about, let's say, topics like, I know this will sound like an alien topic. What is neoliberalism versus socialism? So those kind of topics you can get from Huffington Post. uh, Business topics you can get from Financial Times, from Economic Times. Don't discount Economic Times. It's a good source of information. From Economist, the subscription. For a bit technical and in-depth analysis, go into medium.com, go into wired.com. So there are several things, and once you go into these sites, Google will automatically give you ads to go into the next site. That's easy.
Right. And I
Yeah.
also believe that many of them are on Instagram. If you're following
Mm,
Wired or Harvard Business Review on
yeah.
Instagram, you'll get actually suggestions to follow other like famous pages as well, and you'll be able to follow them over there. And from there, then you can pick them up and then
Yeah.
follow again on Facebook as well.
And I
So
think
that
while
will
we
help
are in
you
the
a lot.
topic, I think I will give few more. Like Harvard Business Review, Edgar Gunn rightly said, it's a very important tool. And similarly, there are apps from McKinsey and BCG, McKinsey Insights, BCG Insights, or something that app is called. So Bain. So these apps also give you a lot of rounded information, like a lot of perspective into what leaders from India and Poland think before making a treaty, how business works behind it. So stuff like that.
Yeah, right. So most of them, keep asking about whether to take coaching or they should go ahead with their own, practice. What will be your take on this?
Uh, Frankly, guys, I joined Career Launcher, but as I said, I used to spend a hour maximum in a week, and it really depends. I would suggest, uh, like, if you know that you are strong in your basics, go prepare solo. Doesn't matter. You just take your tests. That's very important. Like, test the mock practice test. You should take from any institution or all institution. The more the merrier. Uh, but I think getting in coaching is a personal decision. I think it really depends where you are currently, and how do you really think that a coaching can add value to you or not. Like, retrospectively, I would have said, like, don't. I didn't need a Career Launcher at that point of time, but yeah, it certainly helped. I will not say that they didn't help. They helped a lot. So yeah.
Right. There's this question by Prasenjit. So can I prepare for both CAT and GATE simultaneously? So
I did.
like how
I used to prepare for both CAT and GAT, because I wasn't sure. Like, there was no one to give me this gyan, I guess, of like, how do you really choose between one another. I used to prepare for GAT, and GATE used to take more time compared to CAT. And I wouldn't say more time because it was more attuned to engineering. So yeah, like that. And eventually you choose one or other based on your results.
so there's one like question which is from my side. Like,
Sure.
when you do your bachelor's, you have two type of MBAs. So what happens, like, suppose if you're not getting a good percentile in your CAT, people do land up doing MBA at any other university just because they need that certificate to grow. So do you think that practice is good, or whether they should be continuing with the, you know, hitting on CAT and then at least start some work experience, and then at least if you're doing some work and then clearing CAT, then that will be good for them.
Sure. I think there is no right and wrong answer to that. Don't get me wrong, because it really depends on your situation. Like sometimes you in career you are stuck somewhere, right? You need to
Correct.
move on from that point, and you can't grow organically in an in any organization, right? You need to have some courses like you do SAP course or something like that. And similarly, you sometimes you need an MBA to enable you to do that. And that's why I think most people do an MBA from a normal college, like may not be a top-notch college, but it helps it, and it really depends like where you are. But I think most of the students over here who are at a stage where they would want to make MBA full-fledged career, I would definitely suggest stick to the basics, like stick to CAT, stick to GMAT, stick to XAT, something like that, and go for it. And GMAT really opens up a lot of options to you outside India, and uh, not everyone gets into the US Harvards or MITs or Wharton. You can actually look at European universities who are actually quite good, but less competition. But yeah, of course, they are very expensive, mind you. But yeah, there are options for you to open in the market. And I think preparing for CAT is, I think, the easiest and the toughest at the same time option.
Right. So there's this question like, what should be the least CGPA we need from a BTech to get into MBA college, or
Wow.
anyone with CGPA can get an admission?
Uh,
All are afraid of their CGPAs, right?
I know. Even I was. Fortunately, I had a good CGPA, so I didn't need to worry much about that. But yeah, I think CGPA is important. So if you go on any platform like Pagal Guy or Inside IIM, you can see what percentage of weightage is given to each component. So I don't know if there is a like bottom line, like okay, beyond below 6 you can't get into. I really don't know the answer to that. But yeah, try to get a good CGPA, because it really helps. Like some I know one of my fellow candidates during some IIM interview got asked this question: if you got this low CGPA, what were you do? Why were you wasting your 4 years? You could have done like economics or something if you had liked. So you could be asked such questions. So and like some boards like Maharashtra Engineering Board, there if you are getting a 7.9, it's equivalent to getting a 9 pointer in Orissa. So yeah, you have to balance it out somehow.
Right. Right. There's this question by Ayush. Like everyone is preparing coding languages from placement point of view,
Yeah.
and Ayush desperately wants to get into a B school. So should he focus on his CGPA and CAT, and also like or towards like learning coding?
Ayush, you are an engineer, man. You can juggle a lot of balls together. Don't worry about that. So you can easily do that. And I think that's a fact that you have to juggle all three. You have to get CGPA, you have to learn coding, and you have to prepare for an exam. And I think time management is key. Of course, you need to give the equal respectable time to each. There is no right answer for that.
Right. Right. So there's this question like normally people like students think like in case if they are shifting from engineering to management, right? So how are they going to justify this question? Like how will you
Yeah.
explain your field
Okay.
change from engineering to
Sure.
management, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I even got asked this question at some point. uh, hell, I didn't know a proper answer at that point, but now looking back, like I can really justify. I was an electrical engineer with I had a keen interest on solar energy. I did a lot of projects, I think 2 3 projects on solar energy, microgrids, etc. So continuing to an MBA, like in engineering, I did a lot of ways to build a microgrid, build a solar microgrid for a small station. But it's just the specification: how many megawatts, how many solar panels you need. When I actually went into MBA, I found professors over there who are actually interested to take microgrid idea to business feasibility, I actually designed 3 microgrids across the globe, one in California, one in Tanzania, one in Kerala, in Kozhikode campus. I, I actually designed those projects from my engineering background. I actually used my finance knowledge to make them viable. Like, you need to pay certain rupees per megawatt, right? You can't charge more than that. So eventually it tied for me. So now I'm doing with the same professor and one more professor out of NTPC Business School in Delhi. So we are actually engaged in a project to get funding from Indian government and EU, European Union, to get funding for that project to make Wayanad. There is a place called Wayanad. We want to make it into a self-sustaining microgrid. So for me, it tied back to my engineering sources, because if I didn't know about how to build a microgrid, I could never have um, built a successful financial model. And yeah, it might not be I think the right answer for everyone, because I was fortunate to get a field like that. uh, but yeah, sometimes you have to justify, like, after MBA you can actually go back to your field and have a senior position, like you are developing. Let's say you have a work ex of 3 years in SAP or in, let's say, TCS. uh, we can go back to TCS and be a business consultant over there, and you now have the let's say functional knowledge of how to implement SAP, how to implement I don't know how to write a Python code for one of your customers. So you have that functional knowledge. After MBA, you can actually become a consultant in TCS or Infosys or Microsoft, actually implementing that knowledge of yours with business ideas in your customers. So it all makes sense to have an engineering degree and an MBA. And in India, I know there is a question about, there are so many engineers doing an MBA. If you go outside India, like the other day, last year, I was in Wharton for some other friend and topic speaking there. The, their batch size, you had like 30% engineer, and they were interested to get more engineers into their classroom. So it's an age old question, and you can answer that. That's not a big deal.
Right. So we are left with this three questions, not that much. So, but still, like, so how
Yep,
to crack any
sure.
competitive exam with job? Is it because we do have Illumina also today joining Illumina of CET Bhubaneswar. So in case if somebody is already in job and he really wants to crack a competitive
Yeah,
exam, so what is your
it is
suggestion there?
possible. I can take my fellow batchmates from CET. Um, Sovan Nayak, he got into IIM Calcutta after 2 years of job, and he got into Calcutta, and that takes a lot of effort. And he did that. He was in Tata Steel. He was in a reputed job. He spent his time diligently, and he got into. It's possible. There are many cases, and people. I know several students who were in TCS and Infosys from my batch, cracked GMAT, went to I think University of, I think, Michigan, and one more guy in University of Washington in Seattle, and they are now in Oracle being a data scientist. So uh, I think if there is a will, there is a way. You are in job. I understand there's a lot of pressure, but you have to take some time out to actually pursue. If MBA is something that you like.
Right. So there's this question by Rishabh: Is MBA for everyone? I mean, can anyone crack MBA with a average knowledge?
And the answer is a resounding yes. You can. There is nothing called average knowledge, low knowledge. Please trust me on that. Everyone has the knowledge. I think it's how we use that knowledge. Everyone has studied 10th. Everyone has studied 12th to at least come into an engineering. So you have that knowledge. Just that you might need to refresh it a bit. Do that. And is MBA for everyone? I would say it really depends. Do you want to do an MBA or not? I think refer to my why MBA. Uh, if it is for you, then it is for you. I would say that.
Right. So we are left with this last question, a famous student question. So can you tell us which topics we have to know at the very least?
Well, Well, I think guys, practice a lot of questions. You will automatically get to know like which topics to cover. And if you're asking like syllabus specific, uh, please, I'm an outdated guy in terms of CAT. Like I cleared 7 years ago, so I think my knowledge would be outdated here. So you can refer to any of the online portals. Like Inside IIM is one of the good portals, or at our times it used to be Pagal Guy. There used to be another. I don't know if it's still there. And there also you can get a lot of insights into syllabus and which topics to concentrate on, etc. Do a bit of
Right.
research.
Right.
And I
So,
think I
Soumya,
also asked a question about the startups in
startup
countries.
country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the highest is the hotbed is Israel, Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is the hottest startup capital right now in the world. The second is Estonia, out of Europe. The capital Tallinn is a hotbed for startups. So it's guys, Silicon Valley, Bangalore exists, but there are places outside. You need to know international business to actually do business outside.
Right.
Yeah,
So I guess from at our attendees, Sambit Patnaik got this one answer right, Israel.
yeah.
So
I could see there was one Israel there.
yes, yes. So that
Congrats.
was from by somebody. Yeah. Right. So Soumya, like all like we are done with the questions. Like with
Sure.
what we got
Yeah, I think
information
let me
included.
go into my MBA and post MBA bit for 10 minutes. I think that
Yes,
will give
exactly.
people also a more confidence, like should we pursue or not. Uh, yeah. So, uh, guys, I did an MBA from IIM Kozhikode as Samarth introduced me. So got in 2013, did 2 years, got out in 2015. So in MBA, it's a very hectic life, I guess. Like coming from a relaxed engineering background, the 2 years are jam packed. You really have to be on top of your game to perform there. By perform, I mean uh, the the initial 2 weeks would be very hectic, but you will get into the mold. Don't worry about it. There will be a lot of late nights. Like in second year, my last class used to get over at like 1 p.m. 1 a.m. in the night. So you will get into the mold. Don't worry about it. Uh, Once you are into the system, and if you really like to be a successful business leader in future, let's say in 20 years, 30 years down the line, then just trust the system, get into an MBA, prepare well, you will do well. So I think every year has in IIMs, every year has 3 trimesters. You will first year would be various generic subjects across all disciplines. Like you will learn finance, you will learn accounting, you will learn marketing, you will learn HR. Not everything is gonna be useful in your job. That's what you will think initially, but it will be. Trust me, after 5 years, I can say I even use HR to manage my team. So despite the fact that I'm doing sales, so it will be useful. And I think at the end of first year, you will have summer internships, uh, which is a unique thing to Indian market, Indian B schools, because in Indian B schools, they provide you with an opportunity to placements. It's the same might not be very true to the Western universities. Indian universities, we do provide, we have a placement cell who provide you with like an engineering who gets companies in. And by reputation of IIMs, you get a lot of companies. Even during these times, you at least get good reputed companies. I know it's a difficult time due to the slowdown. But yeah, this year summer placement was even better for IIM Kozhikode compared to last year. So that's about it for your first year. And your summer internship would be the first taste, at least for how actually a job would look like. So it would be a intense 2 to 3 months, depends on companies, with a stipend, which would be a handsome stipend, ranging from 60,000 at the bottom to maybe 3-4 lakhs at tops per month. So that's reassuring. Like you will get money to spend those two months at a reputed company. You learn a lot on job. Like you learned a lot of concepts in classes and a lot of cases in classes. You actually get to implement them in field. I did my summer internship with a startup. It was Home Connect Retail. It was India's first online retail, like service retail platform. You might be knowing Urban Clap nowadays. They provide a lot of service out in the metros. So my company got acquired by Urban Clap. So I was a marketing and strategy intern there. So I used to design their go-to-market strategy. Let's say they were operating in Bangalore and Hyderabad. So I was helping them with strategies like which all businesses should you have. Like just cleaning service might not help you. Maybe something else, like a wash at home or something like that. So I was doing those category plannings. I was helping them to build a pitch deck for venture capitalists to get funding. I think at the end of my at the end of my 2 months, 2.5 months, I presented those deck to some of the reputed VCs. Of course, I can't take the names, but yeah, some of the reputed VCs, and we got good funding 3 months down the line when I was in college. And later, it got acquired by Urban Clap. So it was a very different experience, startup experience. It was very fast, and I learned a lot of things. Like I went as a strategy marketing intern. I ended up doing a lot of things in my summer internship, and this actually helps you for your finals, the final interviews at the end of the fifth semester. So again, second year has fourth, fifth, sixth, and here based on your experience from your summer internship and your first year, you actually choose which specialization you want to do. And I think this is specific to IIMs. I'm not sure, I know for Excel and XIMB, these colleges, you need to choose the specifications bit earlier. Like HR, I think there is a specific course for that. So like that. But in IIMs, you have like a year, and then you bid for subjects. Like you have several points. You will bid like any IPL auction works. So like for every subject, you will bid some points to get that subject. And by having 6 or 7 subjects, they will call it a specialization. Let's say I was specialized in consulting and marketing. So I had 6 subjects each of these two. And I had a soft major in economics because I liked economics, like none of the engineers like, but yeah, I liked it. I liked economics. So your second year is like that. You start studying very core subjects, deep dive into those particular verticals, I would say, finance, HR, operations, like that, supply chain. Then at the end of fifth semester, generally in IIMs, the placement season starts. And trust me, these 5 semesters, 5 trimesters will actually help you prep for the interviews, because any day your classes are going on till late. Your The meals that are served in college are healthy, so you don't fall sick. And there are also a lot of state of the art amenities. So, and you stay up late, right? That's the key part, because your final interviews will start at like very early in the morning, like 9 or 8. It will go till 4 o'clock in the night. I so out of college, I got into IBM. I got several offers. Like I got into ICICI Bank, I got into IBM, got into KPMG. I chose IBM eventually. My IBM interview started at 3:30, ended at 5 o'clock. So it goes till late. So, but don't worry about that, because those 1.5 years prepare you for that. And at the same time, you continue to do that in your job. So it's a high pressure environment, but you will get used to it. Like nowadays, I manage the global clients across the globe for MongoDB. Like most of my clients are in US, some are in Australia. So my time zones are entirely messed up. I start my day someday at 5 o'clock in the morning. Some days I end my day at 3 o'clock in the night. So eventually that becomes the norm. But yeah, of course, you don't if you don't want to be in that kind of a job, you can choose not to be. Like in finance, you can have a particular geography, like handling just India, and you can develop Indian markets. So that all is possible. It basically depends what you want to do. So I still remember my first day entering into IIM Kozhikode. It was rains, and Kerala is especially beautiful in rains. Like my campus was situated on top of two hills. So while I remember I was going in an auto to my campus, and it was all foggy everywhere. So it was a resort. Uh, and next day, our professor gave us an welcome speech like to our batch, and he said, "You are in a resort, fully paid up for 2 years. Just enjoy the time." So it was really like that. But yeah, from the next experience changed. We went into the all-nighters, and out of college, I was placed in IBM, doing. So I took up B2B sales, which is called corporate sales, like business to business. I sell to the CXOs in those organizations. It's much rewarding, of course. Like post MBA, getting into IBM sales. It was a really big achievement for me, because IBM generally doesn't recruit sellers fresh from college. So like my peers in my company were of 40, 39 years age, and I was just 25 and starting my job in the same territories, managing the similar clients. So for my batch of people, it was a great achievement. So, and it gave us a lot of perspective of how my customers think, is this job right for me or not? I think that's the first question. Like, are you really capable of selling to the CXOs at the age of 25? If yes, stay or change lines, and you can change lines. It's not difficult. Not all doors are shut. Like one of my colleagues went from IBM B2B sales into entirely different profile into Asian Paints supply chain. It's all possible. Like initially, if you are not sure, you can change your career. But I loved it. I love to travel. I love to earn money out of my variable pay. Not so after MBA, you generally get into sales. You have a fixed pay and a variable pay, 50-50 ish. So your 50% salary is fixed, 50% depends on your performance. So if you do well, you earn a lot. Like you can earn up to 3 times, 4 times your variable pay. It's no small amount. So if I used to love traveling, I used to love the money around it. So I stuck with B2B sales, and I felt comfortable interacting with CXOs, because they used to see me as a small child came into their boardroom to sell them something. So fair enough, I get a chance to meet the CXOs. Like I have met RPG Group CEO. I have met like Birlas. I have met Kumar Mangalam Birla in a negotiation with his CFO, and he actually accidentally walked into the room and he shook my hand. That was a big moment for me. So similarly, you get to meet a lot of big people. So after IBM, I moved into another company called Intera Systems. It's a media and entertainment product company. So they make products for media industry, and I started to manage Asia Pacific and Middle East Africa for them. I started opening up those markets. So there the role was a bit different. Like it was not just selling, it was to create a team in Asia Pacific so that they can sell into those markets. And of course, the company makes revenue out of that. So I opened up a lot of new territories like Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Hong Kong, Korea. So those were the new territories helped Entera get into. And some of territories like Nigeria, where I have never been to like till now, but still on phone we used to get deals from there, to South Africa, similar. So from I think this international sales experience gave me a lot of perspective into cultures. Like uh, you are in India, you are negotiating with a Birla or let's say a Reliance. It's a very difficult client to handle, or maybe a CRM Silk, a very small client. Our mindset is very different from, let's say, when you are interacting with someone in Dubai. It's there you need to have a face-to-face meeting with the client, various other things. So you learn a lot about culture, how other businesses work in other countries, like that. And after that, I moved into my current role recently. I think 4 months back, I got into MongoDB. Here I manage ISVs. That's a short of independent software vendors like IBM, Microsoft, SAP, these are my clients. So they basically embed MongoDB into their solution and sell it in their market. So it's more of a strategic sales. So I manage ISV relationships globally. So starting from Australia, Japan, to all the way to the west coast of US. So there are benefits to that role. You get to know a lot of people. Uh, you are on a speed dial of a very senior SVP or a CEO of MongoDB, which is a great thing, and at the same time not so great thing if you mess up something. But yeah, the job has its own challenges. Great pay, great travel. Like if it wouldn't have been COVID, I would have traveled to US like once in 3 months or 2 months, uh, apart from other countries. It's a great thing, and I really love doing my job, what I currently do. So that's really important to match in your career. So I know that you currently are at a stage where you are trying to get into an MBA. I just wanted to paint you a picture that doing an MBA with the right mindset and right skill set, you will be rewarded. You will get that money that everyone wants to get at the end of the day, and you will get growth. But yeah, it's for anyone who wants to do an MBA, and if he does MBA, he will shine in the market. And Gagan, I think that's it from my side, at least how I see MBA and post MBA life and my experiences. Any questions we have, or yeah?
Like your experience and especially your journey, I hope your students are motivated now. And like what Archie said,
So
like most of them were not having this clear idea, right? So I hope you can watch your seniors. That is the motive behind having webinars with Illumini, because they are the right person to mentor you, to guide you, right? Let's pick up these last questions, because
sure,
when
sure.
you were sharing your journey, with these last questions came up. Adi is asking, like, why did you choose IBM over ICICI and KPMG? Any specific reason?
Yeah, sure. Apart from that, I even got into a few other companies. Like when you choose a job post MBA, it's not just about money. I think, remember that I know I spoke a lot about money. Money is not everything. You need to find what role you really like to do after an MBA. Like finance, I was good at finance, but it's not something that I thought at that point of time that I can do day in day out. I might have been wrong at that point, but it's still. And I thought that there are better career options to choose from, and B2B sales was one, and consulting was other. Like strategy consulting was other. That these were the two streams that I was thinking to join after college. I didn't want to do consumer sales, something like that. So it was basically between IBM and KPMG. Then of course IBM and KPMG, both great firms, nothing like it. But I liked IBM's culture more, like the way they treat their employees, the way employee benefits are structured. Um, though I really like them, and I really like the people who are interviewing me. So it's not always they are interviewing you, and you are desperate to get into that. Of course it is, but at the same time you also have to be judging the other side, like how those people are treating you, and that's how you will get treated in any company for, let's say, 5 years. So you really have to choose it wisely once, if you have an option. Like I understand, like current scenarios, you might not have options to do that. So stick with a job, like evaluate it in the meantime. If you don't like it, change it. If you like it, great, survive in it and grow in that.
Right. So a question by same person, like, did you achieve all the goals that you expected your MBA would give you?
Okay, that's interesting. I think while starting an MBA, I didn't have like much clearer goals like that I have right now. During MBA, of course,
Right.
I charted a lot of them. Uh, I wanted, initially I wanted to be a supply chain analyst. Believe it or not, I liked operations. I wanted to get into that, but while progressing, I understood that it's not something that excites me. Uh, I was very clear from the I think the case studies that happen in classes, that I can see the inherent value that any company looks for. So I was good at value finding and like financial value. Like, let's say you get into Vietnam, what is the financial benefit that you'll get out of that market? I was good at finding that. So I thought I will stick with consulting. And my sole aim out of B school was to get into consulting and excel in that. But when I was doing my internship, I get to know that there are a lot of similarities between B2B sales and consulting. Of course, they are not the same job, very different. But yeah, there are a lot of similarities. So I chose those two lines. And of course, there were a lot of goals associated, smaller goals associated in these two big streams. I think I've done fairly well, I guess, till this point. I would like to believe that.
Right. So we'll just end up with this last
Sure.
question by Devashish. He actually wants to have an idea about marketing. Like in marketing, an MBA graduate will give ideas for more
Yeah.
profit and business opportunity. There's a question he wants to understand about like what marketing is.
Okay, just a second. I will go through that question once more. In marketing, an
Wait,
MBA
I'll
graduate
just
will give ideas for.
so
Okay. To answer your question, yes. So every role in a company, you have to have some ideas about business opportunities. I will not say about profit, about business opportunities. Like uh, a- any marketing candidate, so nowadays digital marketing is in thing, right? So you have to have ideas like, how do you want to do a campaign? um, is your campaign going to be effective or not? So you need to spot business opportunities to run a campaign. Your campaign cannot be just that, okay, I want to blast some emails into uh, Hindustan Unilever or ITC's consumers. It doesn't work like that. You need to spot an opportunity. Why do you want to run a campaign? And of course, profit figures are related to it. I think earlier in your marketing days, you will not be needed to identify that. If you identify that, nothing like it. But yeah, I think once you grow up the chain, like you become a category manager or you become a brand manager in a marketing uh, environment, let's say for Nestle, you need to have figures for profit, spotting business opportunities, helping your team do that. So yes, it is very important. And I think that's why in MBAs, the first year is all generic subjects. You also learn about finance, you also learn about everything else. That's how you make those decisions for spotting business opportunities, spotting profits, and getting profits out of that, basically.
right. Thank you
Hope
so
I
much,
answered your question.
Soumya. That like no, you didn't answer one single question. You answered lot many questions to the students today, and like I hope every student is learning something out of it, right? Like all of your doubts, those you had, like many of like from all the perspectives, whether to do MBA or not, why to do MBA, whether to have experience, how to like how to go about CAT, how what to prepare, right? All things have been answered in this webinar. And I would also like to thank the leaders of the SARC team, that is Archie and Akash, along with the member of SARC, Samarth. Samarth was in touch with you, who got in touch with you and then organized this webinar. So thank you so much, Samarth. He was the one who introduced you
Yeah,
today as well. So, right. Well done, student team. Thank you so much for organizing this great webinar. And so, with your permission, like I'll move towards concluding this session now. Anything from
please.
your side? Right. Yes.
Yeah, I think I can give some parting thoughts. I think Samarth is having difficulties connecting, I guess. Yeah, so I think be sure of what you want to do in your life, and if you want to do an MBA, just go for it. Uh, it's you, only you, who will like architect your life. It's no one else. It's you have to be confident enough to take that jump, and of course prepare well to get there, because it's not very easy to uh, get into in this current scenarios. And yeah, if you get into, congratulations. You can ping me for any of your queries on LinkedIn. Never shy away from that. And and yeah, prepare for COVID as well. Interesting PI topics once you get into any interview. prepared for COVID, its repercussions on your economy, repercussions on some certain sectors. Prepare well, I guess. And all the best, guys.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Soumya. Thank you so much, team, Samar, Thachi, and Akash. Without your, you are the most active teams, because we have like they are actually part of this internship program by WAF, and they are interning to engage the alumni network of CT Bhubaneswar, and well done for organizing the first webinar. We are looking forward towards other webinars in the series. Thank you all the participants. We had around 200 participants today joining for this webinar. Thank you all for joining, especially on weekend, that way at 7 p.m. Right. Thank you so much. And we are moving towards concluding our session now. Thank you so much. And we are signing off for today.